Good evening. We begin tonight with significant shifts within the United States military leadership, fresh election disputes in Virginia, and rising tensions between Washington and Mexico City. This combination of events paints a complex picture of domestic and international challenges. The U.S. Marine Secretary John Phelan has resigned from his post, effective immediately, according to the Pentagon. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell announced Phelan's departure on Wednesday local time via an online service without providing specific reasons for the move. Under Secretary Hung Chau will now serve as acting secretary. This resignation is not an isolated incident, but rather part of a broader pattern of numerous high-ranking military officials being replaced since the beginning of President Trump's second term. Earlier this month, the Chief of the U.S. Army, Randy George, stepped down under pressure from U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Additionally, two other generals were dismissed from their positions. Even further back, in February 2025, General Staff Chief Charles C.Q. Brown, an African American, was fired without explanation. The leadership of key defense and intelligence branches, including the Navy, Coast Guard, and the National Security Agency, or NSA, have also seen significant changes at their helms. These widespread changes have prompted strong warnings from opposition Democrats, who express profound concern about what they perceive as the political co-optation of the traditionally neutral U.S. armed forces. Defense Secretary Hegseth, who is known for controversially referring to himself as War Secretary, had previously announced significant cuts in the number of active four-star generals and admirals back in May, signaling a new direction for the military establishment. Turning to domestic politics, Democrats in the U.S. state of Virginia have suffered a significant legal setback in their efforts to gain an advantage in the upcoming November midterm elections. Less than 24 hours after voters in the state approved a measure to redraw electoral districts, a court declared the entire voting process invalid. Media reports had suggested that this proposed redistricting could have been a game changer, potentially allowing Democrats to gain 4 additional seats in the House of Representatives during the crucial midterms. Republicans are currently working diligently to defend their razor-thin majority in Congress, making every single seat vital. Following the defeat for his party in the redistricting referendum, President Trump was quick to allege widespread voter fraud. On Wednesday, he claimed on his online service, Truth Social, that a manipulated election had taken place. President Trump asserted that Republicans were ahead all day long and that the mood was incredible until, as he put it, a massive mail-in ballot flood occurred at the very end. He also sharply criticized the Virginia vote itself as confusing, explaining that the referendum's wording was intentionally incomprehensible and misleading. President Trump expressed his hope that the U.S. judiciary would intervene decisively to correct this justice tragedy. Voters in Virginia had on Tuesday approved a measure that would permit authorities to redraw the electoral map prior to the next national redistricting process, which is slated for 2030. In international financial news, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has defended the controversial decision to extend the relaxation of U.S. sanctions on Russian crude oil. During a Senate committee hearing on Wednesday, Bessent explained that he had notably changed his mind on the matter after being contacted by more than a dozen of the poorest and most energy-vulnerable countries. He elaborated, stating that these nations had specifically requested the suspension be extended and only for another 30 days, highlighting the global energy needs at play. We now move to Mexico, where tensions are brewing after Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum stated that the Mexican army had no knowledge of the presence of U.S. intelligence operatives. These operatives were reportedly involved in a recent anti-drug operation in the border state of Chihuahua, where they were tragically killed in a car accident. President Sheinbaum told journalists on Wednesday that obviously the military did not know that persons were involved who were not Mexican citizens, that foreigners participated in the operation. She indicated that her government is now thoroughly investigating a possible violation of national security laws in what remains a still opaque and concerning incident. US media reports have suggested that the American instructors involved were employees of the Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA. Following President Sheinbaum's remarks, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt conveyed that President Trump believes some compassion from Claudia Sheinbaum would be quite appropriate for the 2 lost American lives. Leavitt also stated that the Trump administration desires more cooperation from Mexico in future endeavors. The incident in question occurred on Sunday when 4 drug investigators, including 2 U.S. instructors, died in a car accident while returning from a large raid. According to the prosecutor's office, 5 operational vehicles were in convoy on their return from the operation in the north of the country when the lead car suddenly veered off the road and tragically plunged into a gorge. Finally, Congressional Democrats on the House Judiciary Committee are raising serious questions, demanding an alcohol test for FBI Director Kash Patel. In a letter addressed directly to the head of the federal police, they cited multiple reports alleging that Director Patel consumes excessive amounts of alcohol and has repeatedly failed to report for duty. While an FBI spokeswoman had previously denied these specific reports, Democrats are pressing the issue with renewed vigor. In their letter to Patel, they directly stated, "After you repeatedly and without discernible explanation disappeared for extended periods, only to reappear noticeably intoxicated, it is not surprising that your alleged drinking habits and irregular schedule have demonstrably had devastating effects on your conduct as FBI Director." The committee is seeking answers regarding the leadership and stability of the nation's premier law enforcement agency. That's our news update for tonight. Thank you for tuning in. What's your take on Trump-era military shakeup, election fraud claims, Mexico row? Share your view in the comments. Do you think this will matter in the next news cycle? This video was generated using artificial intelligence.